Hello everybody, welcome back to From Rhythm to Algorithm. We continue on with our derivation. What is the natural definition of sensorality? So, the first big idea directly in the forefront of my mind is what is addition? How does addition to add something relate to the conservation of mass? We cannot create new stuff, so when you add something, what does that really mean? So that is just clear cut, what is the most fundamental operation? If you're trying to make fun of somebody and say that was really simple, you say, that's as easy as 1 + 1 = 2, right? Why did you appeal to addition and not subtraction? Why is plus additive? And so going through our derivation steps, ultimately looking to show the direct iteration or integration, explicitly pointing out that integration is iteration iterated by ing, our fundamental syllable that represents physical things. It is irreducible. It is the syllable that represents vibration. Vibration is the limit of rhythm, from rhythm to algorithm. If you want to do a physical process most efficiently, you form a rhythm. And so looking to integrate the definition of sensorality. We do so by iterating our geometric shapes, our letters, to prove and to solidify our definition. What is sensorality? I have senses with an S, I have sensation with an S, I have consent that has sensuality with a prefix, but with an S. My microwave does not. Right? Inanimate objects do not have sensation like sentience does. And so we have an inconsistency. I turn on my microwave, I reheat a meal because I'm a fat piece of shit. I hit reheat, it says sensor with an S. Right? Sensors are senses with an S. And so we're showing this consistency. We've already proven this analytical process valid. Speciality, if you're new and never seen me before, you've probably never heard that word. It is very literally special with an ITY. That is the linguistic proof. It is directly literally true, and it has a natural definition, the natural tendency to differentiate for sexual antagonism. And it is completely validated every time somebody calls somebody else special. And so that is what we're doing with sensorality. We have this word form, and we're trying to integrate its conceptualization into the rest of ontology. We've shown a bunch of consistency with other work, power, generosity, which is a form of energy, all of the fundamental physical ontology you've used, in addition to what we've identified as motion and emotion. And then logical proofing extends directly into emotion, specifically from the identity. Generosity is very literally energy with more syllability. Syllability is this fundamental unit of sound that has meaning. Right? If I say the sky is blue, you cannot hear anything else because there's fundamental association what those sounds mean. And so we're trying to arrive at this undeniable, completely empirically true definition, what is sensorality, by reducing all of our linguistics. And so, in other words, we're trying to add sensorality conceptually. But that is our big theme for today, is what is addition? So now going through our derivation steps, right? We have this big connection logically. Tortality is lorality. The lore of tor is jurisprudence. And then fundamentally physically, right? Distortion is built on tort, but it's the most fundamentally physical application of that syllability. Distortion is disruption, right? And we've explicitly been deriving the entirety in the structure of language. Again, in demonstrating and producing this definition of sensorality, proving a theorem or a structure of language that is completely applicable to everything. And so pointing out, right, distortion is disruption. People will say in fundamental physics, right, black holes disrupt or distort space-time. Just pointing out, we've derived distortion. Sensorality disrupts. Sensorality is disruptionality. Sensorality disrupts absorption. Sensorality disrupts distribution. And so, again, going through this analytical process, we are literally, quote-unquote, calculating a definition. Compliability, right? Liability, liability, pliability, and then that gives us the direct conceptual motivation, and the linguistics is available to produce the word compliability, which was the title of the last derivation video. Compliability, and now we have some sort of internal inversion linguistically, the letters representing the sounds. Compatibility. Sensorality is compatible. What is compatibility to congruence? Congruence, this word we use for mapping. If you lay something flat over something else, it's congruent. We've asked the question, what is fluency to congruence? What is compatibility to congruence? Compatibility is compliant. And again, now at the forefront of our mind, we are clearly showing this iteration, which is integration, which is addition. That we're doing this overall iteration of letters, or this fundamental syllability progression. And so congruence, emphasizing the G, similar to algorithm. Compatibility is compliant. What is compliant to complaint? Right? Direct iteration. Move the elementality, the I and the A. Compliance, reliance. Dependence is reliance. Rely, comply. What is irrigation to integration? Are they inverses? I don't know if they're exactly inverses, but the structure of the words, the only thing that changes is, again, R and N is this geometric identity, but irrigation to integration is very similar linguistically. What is iteration to addition? They're one and the same. Irrigation, addition. When I think directly, historically, what conceptualization do I think of when I hear the word irrigation? I specifically think the action of cutting canals. For example, Brad irrigated Jen's canals. And so it's more so of, again, like dispensation, structure, distribution of water, more so than just spraying water everywhere. It's a little bit of intuition just to progress our derivation. Sensorality is irregality, generalizing irrigation. But, right, irrigate, integrate. Irrigate ends in gate, a sensor is a gate. Sensorality is irregularity. Asymmetric is irregular. Gate, irrigate. A sensor is an irrigate. Sensorality is additionality. Iteration is addition. Sensorality adds. Addition is incremental. Right? An increment is discrete. It is a chunk. It is a one thing. Mass is incremental. Sensorality is incrementality. A decimal is an increment. Increment, cement. What is addition to the conservation of mass? So that is what we led off with. That is where it was at in the natural progression of all of this overall derivation that we've been demonstrating in from rhythm to algorithm. I also have preservation in parentheses, because then I went on to state, right, charge is conserved. That is our fundamental physical thing. Charge. Charge vibrates. Charge stabilizes into mass. Density is definite. Mass is emergent. So mass is preserved. Right? You preserve a key in music. You preserve resonance. The fundamentality is conserved, and the emergent property is preserved. Is addition scalar? Right? What is additive? Sensorality is seasoning. Seasoning is additive. What is additivity to irregality? Right? To irrigation, again, I'm thinking just distribution in the conception of waterways, like the Venice canals are irrigated. And then the obvious example that Brad irrigated Jen's canals. But then our definition doesn't really work because Jen already has canals and Brad is just providing the moisture, or the stimulation for the moisture. And we're talking about physics here, guys. But again, what is irrigation? To irrigate something, is that the process of producing the canal? Is it the process of distributing water? Is it the process of what? Additionality is sensorality. And then I have that as a natural definition because, again, we're literally adding the syllability of sensorality into ontology. Additionality is sensorality. And then I have that as a natural definition, again, pulling directly from that syllability. Diction is sensorial. Diction is oral. Increment, inclement. Censorship is inclement. Sensorality is inclementality, directly from the phrasing inclement weather. I hope I'm saying that right. Orality is mentality. So from sensorality is inclementality, we just have, again, the base words as orality is mentality. And we had this generalization previously where we explicitly pointed that out. A word ends in OR, you put ality, the generalizing suffix, or we'll just say syllability even, because we haven't established this chronology quite yet. For sensorality, again, this whole analytical process has been demonstrated, but we're just arriving at some more generalized theorem about the progression of language in general. And so, just sensorality is inclementality, orality is mentality. What is orality to mentality? Orality of the mouth, mentality of the mind. Sensorality is the mentality of orality. And that is a natural definition. Is orality mental? No. Again, producing the self-contained syllability to answer trivially. What is metal to mental? What is mentality to metabolism? What is mood to metabolism? Right? There's that commercial, fat middle-aged white chick scooting along in her little jumpsuit. I just pooped. Right? Metabolism is proportional to mood. You feel good, you look good, you feel good, that saying. Emphasizing the progression of syllability, mental, metabolism. Is addition positive? Additivity is positivity. Sensorality is positivity. Positivity positions. And that is a natural definition. Again, the fundamental thing is charge. And if you try to limit movement of a thing, you get vibration because of the geometry is not completely congruent. This chirality of things growing stabilizes by being asymmetric. What is addition to position? Again, the direct, clear-cut physical mathematical ontology that you know, and then emphasizing the structure of those words. Positing adds. Citing, positing. Positing adds to the conversation of the overall ontology of everything, right? A hypothesis is a posit. Positing is hypothesizing, but to the overall structure of all of ontology. Right? You're born into a world, words have meaning, you get caught up, right? That's why I don't say that's why you're alive, but that's why you don't have to study all of history. That's why you don't need to learn a bunch of shit to contribute to society, even though basically nobody besides me does. Yeah, that's an insult to all you lazy fucking losers out there. But positing adds to the conversation, and then you're talking about the overall ontology, and then you kind of get this phrasing, right? If you don't have anything nice to say, you don't say it at all. But in reality, it's kind of this awareness that's like on a personal level, but you can't say negative things. And so again, malice and evil and haram don't really exist. It's just perversion and this ability to distort, your local resources to benefit yourself. Perversion of selfishness is about as evil can get. Which is really a fleeting kind of state of society. This overall, again, we have nation states, and you can have one rich dude over here, and again, we're not going to go into the economics here, but just like this disparity of like responsibility for action. You can just cause a war over there and just not give a shit from anyone. I'm not just talking about U.S. politics or at all, but it's just this overall functionality. People do not have to take responsibility for their actions. Right? A doctor prescribes some medicine that's wrong. They have malpractice insurance. Somebody drives too fast. They have car insurance. I mean, this is like, society has not grown up. Right? People do not take responsibility for their own actions. And actions speak louder than words. And so, but positing adds to the conversation. And again, all language is neutral. And it's just, there's this very immaturity level of behavior that's you have to articulate because it's part of the verbiage of how logic is articulated in our species. And so that's kind of where you get, if you don't have nothing to say, you don't say it at all. The fundamental logic being you can't really say negative things. And then overall, it's just kind of like not productive. It's not efficient, right? But it also presents this kind of verbiage, right? Do you have anything positive to add? Or do you have anything to contribute, right? Addition is contribution. And so you see that logic emerge very cleanly in just like, again, growing up schooling. Like they truly go to school and, you know, someone's being the class clown and the teacher says, right, do you have anything positive to add to the conversation, right? You're over here in school, you're trying to learn. It's very accessible logic. But hypothesizing in general posits, and that's what any hypothesis is trying to progress ontology as a whole. Sensorality is positive to add. Sensorality is +1. Go to a wedding, hey, do you have a +1? What is addition to plus? So now, again, we can't, what is addition physically, right? I cannot create new mass. Mass is this emergent property from charge. Charge is conserved, mass is preserved. If you mix up those words, it's not a big deal. But let's say I have 3 writing utensils. I have a pen and 2 highlighters, right? So I have one set, and I want to add another marker, right? I didn't create new mass. I just put this marker over here. And so, right, I've localized. I've increased localization. That's what addition is physically, right? Mass, it's still over here, but it's just arbitrarily, now it's in this hand, right? It's closer to this pen. There's a grouping, there's a set, there's a category, there's a class. So now I can even add this odd one out. I gotta add my pen. I still didn't create any mass, I just localized it from somewhere else. And so addition physically is localization. You guys are busy doing real fundamental science out there. Go build your super collider. But then we can even ask the question, right? What is addition to plus? Is that an English word? Macron, Emmanuel, Manuel. Are you sneaking back in here, Bonjour land? Right? Is it plus? Is it plus? Is it plus? Is it plus parfait? What is this word? I think it's a France spy. French spies are in here. It's plus, it's plus parfait. But again, what can we say about the addition sign? Right? It most looks like a cross, right? An add. If you ever played hopscotch, 1 foot, 1 foot, 2 foot, 1 foot, 2 foot, 1 foot, 1 foot. It's like a discrete algorithm to calculate a shape. And that's, again, this shape of the cross, the add, is the plus sign. And then if you want to get, again, literally, the multiplication operation, symbolically, you rotate that sign 90 degrees. Or pi over 2 radians. I'm smart. Yeah, it should be pi over 2. But regardless, again, what is addition to plus, to plus parfait? But sensorality pluses. That's not a word, Brad. Let's iterate our elements. Sensorality pulses. Pulses, pluses. Same syllability. What is the pulse of orality? Rhythm pulses, rhythm impulses. So we can restate the fundamental theorem of physics. Sensorality controls impulse. As evidenced in everyday, already known ontology, impulse control. Again, it's just like potential energy. You just kind of derive the wrong order. You guys just don't know how to do this. Moving along. Impassible is impossible. Sensorality is impossible. Additional is propositional. If I may add something, you're in the business meeting, you're the junior associate, it's your big time to shine, you got some big insight. Can I add something? Can I contribute something? Right? Can I propose something? Additional is propositional. Sensorality is propositionality. Sensorality is proportionality. Does addition increase? Right? Again, we're bounded by physics, our pens, we cannot create more mass. It increases localization. Sensorality increases, right? Concentration localizes. Addition concentrates. What is friendship to censorship? Censors sense, senses are censors. And again, this proof is demonstrating the spelling. Why does my microwave say it's a sensor with an S and it's not consistent? Is this geometric consequence. We get our conceptualization in the right place, the geometry will be trivial. But I will put it on the screen, senses, sensors, emphasizing, again, the elementality, this symmetry provided by physics. You're on a computer screen, you have coding limits, you can see the spacing preserved by the physical atoms that are your computer or your handwriting, but the 3 S's from sensors and the 3 S's from senses. So now we just have a 2x2 matrix, because again, without verbs, the fundamental verb, it is what it is, that establishes a quality. This is that, this equals that. So our fundamental operation, again, without an equation sign, is iteration. And so geometrically, anything that is directly symmetric cancels out. It's the same thing. There is no difference to it. And so we have this fundamental matrix, and the only difference of that, not the only difference, but there's, again, because the geometric identities for me on a personal level jump around and they're valid. Like I said, you don't go around proving addition every single day. And then that type of, here are the fundamental analytical tools that are valid and proven by speciality completely on your desk. That is now, ball is in your court completely for all of analysis. It's just in the same way you do mental math quicker if you sit there and do arithmetic a lot, right? I do geometric relationships a lot, right? But so senses and sensors are not the exact same thing, but we have this 2x2 matrices of vowels, of vibration, of resonance, E, 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 O. And again, we're going to get to this fundamental iteration to produce the word form of the next axiom to complete sensorality once we arrive at this stabilizing syllability. Friendship is filtration. Sensorality is friendship. Friendship is kinship. Kids are kin. Friends are kinfolk. Just like the Sam Hunt song. Again, overall, we're on addition, but that's what I have for today, or for right now. My rights continue to be violated. I continue to beg, to ask, to plead, literally. Again, good use of the EA inversion. For a little bit of money, to eat properly, to sleep properly, and to work. That is not a joke, that is not an exaggeration. Continue to do so is just profound, prolific, and historical abuse. And apparently nobody cares, because you could give me a little bit of money, my rate of, you can't increase or slow down my output, just a realization process, and it's so trivial to me, might as well throw it up on a YouTube channel. At this point, again, we're at the final reduction, and so it's just like, I just want my life to change, and clearly no one gives a flying fuck about that. So I continue to emphasize the law is broken in the most egregious way possible, and at some point that will make sense, because your word is your law, and all of the words that are the laws on the screen are broken, and that's not a good thing. That is what I have for right now. Thank you for watching. See you on the next one.